friends, welcome to Minimalese. My name is Becky Truda, and on this channel, I like to talk about decluttering and minimizing and living your best life. Today's video is a reflection back on 6 months that I took off of all social media and the 3 main takeaways that I gained from that experience. So let's dive into number 1 and get started right away. The first big takeaway, which I'm sure if you have watched anything about getting off of social media before, this is one of the biggest things that I learned, and it happened pretty quickly actually, is that when you're on these social media platforms, and my main one was Instagram and Facebook, I really became very disillusioned about what a quote unquote normal life should look like. And you know, of course, mostly I was looking at my friends or peers or people that I used to know, but you just compare yourself all the time to people's best days. And of course, like, they're not having their best day every day, even if they're posting all of the time. These are just like highlights of their life. The main thing that I was personally getting from it was just basically disillusioned by other people's lives. And I would see the most perfect pictures of, you know, people I know and their families and how they had, you know, the perfect 2.5 kids and the best house and the newest car. And it really gets in your head, even if you don't think it is, it really gets in your head and it starts to make you think like, oh, this is the life I'm supposed to have and why aren't I having it? And of course, like, I don't know if I've talked about it on this channel, but my husband and I have struggled to have a second kid for a long time. And I think now we're just at the point where we really enjoy having our one daughter and we're so grateful for her. And that has nothing to do with anyone else's journey. I'm not saying that, but always seeing other people and comparing yourself to other people who may have the life that you imagined yourself having is not a helpful thing. And it's not healthy for your brain to constantly be comparing yourself to them and saying that you're less. Because when I stepped away and took that 6 months off, I really learned that one, what my husband kept telling to me, that he is so grateful for what we do have. And I think I couldn't really get that when I was constantly being bombarded with other people's lives. It was very hard for me to get to the point where I could feel grateful for what I had and grateful for the people in my life and the experiences I was having and the family I did have. And it was very difficult for me to get there because I was constantly comparing myself. So lesson number 1, please take at least a 6-month break off of social media and just realize that, especially if you're struggling like I was at the time, you will really probably pretty quickly realize that you have stopped comparing yourself so much to other people. And hopefully it'll give you a little more time to be grateful for what you do have and the life experiences that you do have, and hopefully recreate a new story in your head of what your life is going to be. Recently, I was listening to a podcast called 10% Happier, which I 100% guarantee that you will love that podcast. It's really brought a lot of insight for me for things that I either have never thought about or, meditation guides that has really helped me. But anyway, on one of his podcasts, he was talking to a guy called Morgan Housel. And he recently wrote a book called The Philosophy of Money, which I'm actually ordering because his talk was so good that I just feel like I need to read this book. But a big takeaway that leads into things that I actually learned during that 6 months off of social media was that he said that when we are on sites like Facebook or Instagram and we're constantly comparing ourselves, we are not only doing what we normally do as human beings, 50 years ago, comparing ourselves to our neighbors and the people around us. We just see too much. We can see the entire world and billionaires, millionaires, and what they're able to do, the yachts, the vacations they're able to take. And that's not healthy for our brain, he was saying. And really, he was talking about how do we know when we have enough, which I think for people that are going through minimalist changes or trying to be more conscious about what we buy, this is a question that we often ask ourselves. What is enough? And when do I know when I have enough of whatever it is, clothes, shoes, cars, whatever it might be? How do we know when we have enough? And he was saying that being on social media has really disillusioned our planet, anyone that can be on it, because we can now compare ourselves to so many more people and their experiences. And that's not necessarily healthy, he said. So the second thing that was a big takeaway for me being off of social media for about 6 months was that I bought a lot less things. But there are so many ads on Facebook now that it's constantly like reading, I guess, what I want. And that's kind of creepy, but it's like it knows what kind of things I'm into, and it's constantly showing me ads of things that could potentially make me happier, which we all know that's not going to be true. And the other thing about Facebook, which is a semi-good / horrible thing, is Marketplace, which is where you can buy other people's used goods. And while I love buying secondhand, and normally I try my best to buy almost everything secondhand that I can, I will say that me getting on Marketplace is very dangerous because even though a lot of times I'll go in and be like, we need new dining room chairs. This is what I'm looking for. I'm looking for these kind of dining room chairs, and this is my price point. What ends up happening is that someone's selling like a beautiful necklace that I didn't even know that I wanted or needed, but now I feel like, oh man, it's like $20. You can't get it that price anywhere else, blah, blah, blah. And you go down an awful rabbit hole of all these things that potentially could make you a lot happier. And we all know that once you have them, they don't necessarily usually do that. But of course, in your brain, you're thinking this is a great price. For me, I'm always thinking, well, it's secondhand, so that's good. It's not going to go into a landfill. So, you know, we could go on and on about this. But just remembering that, you know, if my goal is to buy dining room chairs, I'm not on there to look for anything else. And I'm actually getting ready to go on another hiatus just because I feel like I'm getting back into getting on it way too often. You know, I'm getting back on it like 5 times a day, and that for me is not healthy. But anyway, the next big takeaway, number 3, is that recently I've been trying to get on Facebook and join like groups of things that I'm trying to work on, like eating healthier and getting more fit. So I joined this like weight loss, healthy eating page on Facebook, which you would think like, that's great. Those are, you know, good goals, and those are things that people should be striving for. And what I found is it's actually the opposite for me, and it might be for you too. While I know some people get a lot of inspiration from seeing other people achieving their goals, and people will write really nice comments, and sometimes mean, but usually nice comments on this page, I've just found that when I'm looking at these other people's pictures and how far they've come and how awesome they've done, I just end up comparing myself, and that's not really what I went on there to get from it. You know, like I'm not learning recipes, and I'm not really even taking away a lot of workouts that they do, but what I am doing is seeing how far they've come and comparing myself and why am I not there yet. So if that's what you're doing, not necessarily a good thing and not a good habit. So I've gotten off and deleted that page from my Facebook just because I'm seeing all these things when you scroll down your main page and they trigger me. What I have changed and what I am starting to do now is that I've got myself a cookbook, which I don't love having a lot of book clutter, but I will say this one is a really good, like it's for thyroid problems cookbook. And so I am really pushing myself this year to eat healthier and so that I can feel better and start working out more. But I'm not going to do that from looking at other people's successes. I'm going to do that from getting up off my couch and doing that myself and being the grown-up that I've always wanted to be. So I bought myself a cookbook, and we're looking into like different kind of workouts that we can do, whether at home or if we want to get a group membership to get my daughter out and more physical exercise. We'll see down the road. But what I will say is sitting down and scrolling through Facebook is never going to change how I eat and what I think about my body and weight loss. It is only going to lead my brain down the rabbit hole of why am I not there yet? So those are the big 3 takeaways for me. Have all led me to believe that really these social media sites, the little bits of like community building and knowing people's birthdays and, you know, being able to buy things secondhand, those are great. But the other half of it just leads me down a really negative and self-deprecating tunnel that I don't enjoy being in. And so I'm doing now is right before I get off of it, I'm going to go to the birthday stuff, write down my friends' birthdays because that's something that I'm not good at remembering. so that I can just call them or text them when it is their birthday instead of having to worry about Facebook. And I know that mental health is much more important than anything you can buy on Marketplace. I hope you've enjoyed this quick talk about 3 things that I've learned from getting off of all social media. And of course, there's tons more things that you can learn from getting off social media. And there's a lot of studies that show that is actually an unhealthy thing to be doing very often. So please go check that out and remember to subscribe.